You tip well and treat your staff with kindness and dignity. And we're really happy to be here at Wonderville. And they treat us really well. But to start off the show, and what is it really? What really happens at WordHack? One of the things that happens at WordHack is our open projector. So my background, I mentioned, is in poetry, and I moved to New York in 2010. Just a poem in my pocket and a really small apartment in Ridgewood, and I would just kind of show up to a venue with a poem in my pocket, and I could put my name down on a sheet of paper, not have to know anyone, read my poem in my pocket to that room full of people, tear up the poem, throw it away, sit in the back bathroom for like maybe 30 minutes, and then come out and then make eye contact with the other people who just had the same experience, and that's how you make a meaningful connection here in New York City. And we like to provide that experience here for you, the extended language and technology community. It's just, I feel like it's important to be able to share work without having to prove yourself to someone or like have a cool outfit or like a nice pair of glasses in order to like get to show something to someone. And we've got a projector here. We've got a nice sound cable here. And we're here where you can maybe share a little project, something you've been working on, something you are working on, something you have active questions about. I always like to talk about Laura Clark's open projector for just asking for advice on their necromancer game for like, but the bones are money, but the blood is also money, but how do I show the different kinds that the blood is the fixed capital and the blood is the liquid, just like how do I represent this in my necromancer game? And that was the whole presentation, was just like how to convey these two kinds of capital in the necromancer game and to kind of asking the audience. So you can kind of come up here with an incomplete idea or something you actively like want the audience's guidance on, or you can just share something you made recently that you haven't had a place to show anywhere else. We love to see that as well. Starting off our open projector, we have a returning open projector and featured presentation favorite, warming up the open projector. Let's give it up for Jamie Brew. Items.
This is strange. It's not showing up yet, and the clicks are all weird. They're opening like different parts of the screen.
Weird clicks?
Yeah.
All right, it is showing up now.
Right, but as you can
clicks
see,
are still weird?
Yeah, you can see like maybe the mouse is 4 feet to the right or the left of where it is activating. That's very
strange. It looks normal up here.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe I just look behind us. Okay, great. I'm just going to look at the screen. It's different on my screen. Okay, so I'm here to show a product that I'm working on. It is designed to solve one of the most pressing problems facing our world, which is that karaoke has become too easy. And this product is designed to make karaoke harder and more confusing and generally worse by replacing every line of the song with a line from a specific text replacement candidate source. And for this one I'm showing tonight, I have chosen the song Wonderwall by Oasis, and I have chosen the replacement text of a grab bag of lyrics from the Wonderville website, in the spirit of the HTML review. So let's find Oasis's Wonderwall. And let's find on the right side here, Wonderville. So this is all the text that I could find on the Wonderville website and associated press coverage and Yelp reviews of Wonderville, all pasted into one document. And then we're going to start up over here. I've got to look behind me because the clicks are weird on my computer. Wonderwall over here. We haven't done a sound check, so we might need to do that. Is that going to come through? Okay, great. Cool. Now that works. Let's generate the song and get it in a place where we can all read it. All right. We've chosen our songs. We generate right there. Let's move it a little in. Oh, this is a stretch. Okay, I think we're ready to go. And if you know the tune, sing along. This is Oasis's Wonderwall. It's hard. It's hard already, and we haven't even started. With replacements from lines about Wonderville from the internet. The worm gets knocked. No, that's not quite right. We're starting in a second. Long intro. Here we go. The worm cares not for chivalry. The worm has returned and it must feed. Game by Michael Haneke, cabinet artwork by Tim Fitty. Plus they have peanut butter whiskey, Austin dry cider. You read that right. Queer Space by Eddie Cameron. Love the fun whimsical atmosphere. Cabinet artwork by Tim Fight. The worm has returned and it must feed. I play games and dance my night away. Johnny Walker Black. The vibes are great. Assorted cymbals, stands, hi-hat stand. Worth to try it for a local fun night out. Cabinet design and fabrication by Matt Fry, Wonderville menu. I'm just vegan. I play games and just my night away. The vibes are great. Jonah Wallerstein. The vibe is always light and fun. We'll definitely be coming back. Archer, Rustav and Young Blank, cabinet wrote by Tim Fight. Art and design by Chris Hernandez, Austin Dry Cider, Tana Collins. The games here cannot be found anywhere else. Game by Matt Fry and Nick Santaniello. The first time I came here with friends, I knew I'll be back. Nectar Hard Seltzer. What happens next? Plus they have peanut butter whiskey. The vibes are great. Up taking up space. Margarita. Art and design by Chris Hernandez. Black Emperor. Misguided spirit. Virgin Loveless. Interested in booking with us. Vegans are actually angels. Art and design by Chris Hernandez. That's it. Okay. And if you want to request a song for the next one, this QR code will get you there. if you're quick on the draw, there's another one of these on Memorial Day. So you can use that request form, but you don't have to.
Warming up the stage. Thank you, Jamie. Jamie is available to create a karaoke classic track for your brand or establishment. You can find him up here in the front. Coming up next to the open projector, let's give a warm word hack welcome to Valerie.
Let's give it up for Jamie, everybody. And a beautiful voice, too. Good job. Hi, everybody. My name is Valerie. I'm a game designer here in Brooklyn. Does anyone remember the Fighting Fantasy books back when? Warlock of Firetop Mountain? No? Does anyone remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books? Oh, yeah. Does anyone remember books? Let's give it up for reading. Yeah. All right. So I recently published my updated take on the Choose Your Own Adventure book for an adult audience. And here it is. This is the messed up copy that I took edgy pictures with in the rain, so it's a little fucked up. But this is Somnambulist. It's an interactive novel about sleep paralysis, cosmic horror, reincarnation, and the radio. And basically what this is it's set in Manhattan, and it's a single-player adventure game that you can play with just some dice and a pencil. You could crack it open, spend a whole weekend at the airport, wherever you want, just reading and playing this book. So basically in it, you're going to solve a lot of puzzles. So if anybody likes puzzle solving, there are puzzles. Also, you will fight strange creatures, and there is a little bit of bisexual romance as well in it. You don't have to be bisexual to play it, but it does help. If you'd like to read it, if you'd like to play it, you can get a physical copy or a digital copy through my website, which is not playing behind me because I didn't bring a laptop. I didn't think I had. So that's Valerie Paris at itch.io.com. That's Valerie Paris at itch.io.com. And yeah, basically, feel free to ask me about it if you forget what that is. What else? Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm trying to buy a new face. So anything really helps. Just a few dollars could really set me right on this. So thank you. So bit of a murder mystery, bit of a cult horror vibe. Yeah, that's really it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Somnambulist. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Valerie. Coming up next on the open projector, we have returning star discoverer. It's Maury. Give it up for Maury.
For those of you that were here last month, this is not going to follow what I did last time. I really dug myself a hole with that one. And this one is arguably the dumbest and most self-serving project I've ever presented at Word Hack. So, whenever that comes up, we will we'll start. Word. All right. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. All right, great. All right, let's move this up. At some point, I won't talk about where the projector goes, but I always feel like I have to move it up. Anyway, so this is a project that I whipped up because I realized that Word Hack was coming up in 2 days, and I try to have something, and then I was like, shit, it's Tuesday. So I dusted off this thing that I had in the back. So we're going to learn about deep links and frictionless user experience through bar bathroom stickers. So this project really comes out of a lot of time I spent in bar bathrooms, which sometimes overlaps with the amount of time I spend thinking about links. Two things I often do, and this really pays homage to the overlap. So I think bar bathrooms is like, well, bathrooms in general, fascinating place, like literally, like in terms of like literature. There's the Uncle John's bathroom reader. People reading the bathroom reading is a genre, right? And the thing about bar bathrooms is that you can only really read the stickers. Because you don't have whatever, New Yorker magazine you hold next to, your own toilet at home. So I think bar bathroom stickers are an interesting genre of like thing to present something in, because if you think about who they're talking to, they're very specific, right? They are pretty idly viewed, like it's people taking a shit. They have a pretty captive audience. You are occupied, to say the least. And most people that are looking at them these days are also looking at their phone. Now, hold that thought. Let's talk about friction in user interface and experience and why it's important. So this is Venmo's, if you go Venmo, you've seen like, the scan to pay. This is how Venmo does its scan to pay, right? It's like, here's a QR code, and this is what the QR code links to. It's just, you can see it's a long link. This QR code sucks. Now, why does it suck? Well, it sucks because it actually is inefficient, right? If you go to this link, you come to this page, and I hope you can see that. If my head's blocking it, I'm sorry. But you can see that you have to input an amount, and you have to set the amount, and you have to do all this stuff. And the important thing about all of that is that it's very simple, but it's not optimal. It takes at least 2 clicks for you to pay somebody, 1 click to set a $1 to $9 amount if that's all you're trying to pay somebody, and another to confirm payment. Now, that is good if you are trying to not trick people into paying you money and ensure that everybody understands what they're paying for. However, if you are conversion and or marketer pilled, like I have been over the years, you think that this is deeply unoptimal. So there's a better way. Let's talk about deep links. So deep links are basically apps that link, or links that link to apps. Normally, links link to sites, right? Venmo.com, Maury Coleman, goes to Venmo.com, it's just Maury Coleman. But if you go instead to Venmo, Paychart, blah, 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 and we'll talk about this in a second, it will not open a website, it will open the app Venmo on your phone. Now, what's interesting about that is that we can use these links to pass information to those apps, right? So in the case of this link that we have right here, I feel like I'm right in front of the exact thing I'm trying to talk about, so I'm gonna move this aside. All right, perfect. So you can see that this is the structure of the link, right? Venmo, open Venmo to the transaction page for a payment, not a request. These are the recipients, Maury Coleman, for the amount, 69 cents, with a note of nice, right? And so what that means is that instead of being brought to this lame page all the way up here, where it's like, how much money do you want to spend? I know exactly how much money I want to spend. I want to pay Maury Coleman 69 cents and say nice. And now that right here, that is 1 total click to pay somebody money. So now we have an interesting medium in bar bathroom stickers, an interesting interface in deep links, and a word hack coming up in 2 days. What can we do that synthesizes all of these? We've gone through bar bathrooms. We can do what I have started to call the 69-cent Hall of Fame. And I'm going to pass these out, because you guys are going to help me with this at some point in the future. But the 69-cent Hall of Fame is, again, very self-serving, and I'll get to that. But we sell mild, cheap, and dumb short-term entertainment and long-term fame to drunk people in bar bathrooms. We take the captive audience that has nothing better to do than be on their phone and look at the stickers on the bathroom walls and say, hey, do you want to pay 69 cents to have your picture put online? And they say, why not? And we say word. And so, what does that look like? Well, that looks like 69centhalloffame.com, where if you scan that code, or you put the barcode or you put the QR code in some bathroom, somebody else scans the code, they get taken directly to a link like this. And importantly, it's kind of skeevy, but it's honest, right? It shows you exactly what you're paying for. It says, hey, this is the induction fee for the 69 Cent Hall of Fame. It's 69 cents. Your picture will go on 69centhalloffame.com and 69 Cent Hall of Fame on Instagram, and you can check them out. It's cheap, it's clear about what happens, and it still requires an action on the part of the user. So, I think it's pretty fair, and it's just a lighthearted exchange, in my opinion, and it's also funny. So yeah, pay 69 cents, be online. Thank you. Please put the stickers wherever you want. There are many. I would love. I actually do request you only put them in bar bathrooms because it's funnier that way. And I'm keeping the money. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maury. Let's keep it to one, maybe two in the Wonderville bathrooms. All right, everybody. All right, coming up next on the open projector, it's Will. Give it up for Will.
Do you have an HDMI?
I do.
Oh no, just audio. It's video.
Oh, do you want to?
Is that working?
There it is.
Oh, you can't see it. Oh no.
Can it drag?
It's too. It's like all the way over there. Is there any way to fix that?
Make everyone stand on that side.
I can see it right.
Oh no. Oh man.
We could drop the screen.
Maybe. Oh no, man. Oh. Are you sure? No, it's all the way over here though. All right. Well, anyway, my name is Will. This is my first word hack. Thank you for indulging me. I've been hacking this little silly little desktop window thing. It's kind of silly, but if you all move over here, you can see little windows moving around. It's written in SDL, and it manipulates the windows and stuff like that. I'm just gonna take you through some demos I've been doing because I think it's kind of silly and kind of cool. And you can do little motions with it. If you can see that, you can move the windows and you can move this, resize it dynamically and stuff like that, which is pretty cool because it's kind of like a game, you know. It's you can manipulate it like a video game, which I think is pretty cool. But you can also add images too. Oh, we lost the video.
Oh, there we go.
This is how we do it. There we go. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you have the world, and there's a UFO spinning over here, and this little heart emoji thing. So you can add images and things like that, but you can also add GIFs, which is really cool, because you can do things like that, right? And we lost it again, which is fine, because I think it will come back. Maybe. Maybe if I terminate it. Hello? Please? Okay, there we go. But you can also do things like divisions too. So it's if I do if I edit the divisions to be 3, you can split out the windows, which I think is also cool because you can make cool collage of stuff. And you can also, because they're all windows, you can manipulate them all too. And then this is something of whoops. You can also do faces too, people. This is Danny. Shout out Danny in the back. my partner. And you can make like crazy stuff too, because like it's all just windows and it's all just like, you know, just like, no man, come on. Well, it looks cool on my screen. Oh, here we go. Let me run it again. Hold on. There we go. And it all like converges onto Danny's face. That's pretty cool. Well, well, it was cool. But yeah, basically, like my whole inspiration with this was I really don't know, but you know, like you can. It just kind of makes it like a cool, like playground for your desktop, I guess. And you can make cool little scenes like an indoor skydiving thing, which you can't see. Well. It's like if you can imagine two guys falling into a fan. SDL is like the standard direct, whatever it is, the media library is.
Ooh, it was loose.
Oh, it was loose?
Maybe that will help.
Maybe.
Question mark.
Oh no. Should we try the direct?
Yeah, we can try putting it through this one.
Yeah. There we go. Anything? No? No signal on Twitch? Oh, black? Hey! Let's go! There we go! There we go. We got guys and a fan. And it just kind of makes it cool. Like you can make like cool little scenes with your windows and on your desktop, and that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Really glad we hung in there for the guys and the fan. That was lovely. Thanks so much, Will. Sorry about the projector cable. Yeah, that's really fun. I love desktop theater, playing around with windows. All right. Up next on the open projector, we have Serena and Ahmad. Give it up for Serena and Ahmad. Stall for me for a second while I power it up.
Hey everyone. How's it going? I'm great. I'm at WordHack. I'm at Wonderville. Thursday night. How many of y'all like orchids? Okay, well today we have a collaboration. I'm Ahmad. She's Serena. Serena's going to be reading some very beautiful poetry that's orchid related tonight over some visuals I have, which are very, very, very hackily and jankily created using HTML, JavaScript, some for loops, some pixelated images of orchids, some on-error functions. But yeah, I hope y'all are excited.
And once we get this laptop set up, you will see some of the beautiful visuals that Ahmad put together for this. It's always so nice to creatively collaborate with your closest besties and friends, and it's even nicer when they know more about technology and cool coding stuff than you. So super excited to show this. I have always thought it's so cool that there are so many different ways that you can experience a poem. You can read it on the page if you're old-fashioned. You can like hear it out loud at a reading. And I think in recent years, it's become easier to just like stumble on a poem in like the digital space. I know there's like social media accounts, like maybe you're familiar, Poetry's Not a Luxury, Poem of the Day, stuff like that. And increasingly, people are experiencing poetry like on their smartphones and on laptops and on social media. And I think that that is really cool and compelling. And so it's been fun for me as a very like analog, written on the page person to experiment more with that. And I'm really lucky that my bestie is talented and can make it look really pretty on a website.
Sorry for the delay. I keep pressing the home button instead of backspace on Todd's laptop.
Yeah. Rody, are you getting a video feed? No, not yet. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. All right. If we did it like that.
Yeah. Any key to click it, and then sorry, I didn't add the backspace, so be careful.
Let me pull up the Word doc as a backup just in case.
Okay, cool. Full screen. Do full screen on this.
Still now?
Let's Control F.
I honestly have no idea.
Yeah.
Do you know
should
how
we
to
go?
do full screen? Or wait,
F11.
F11? Oh, okay, awesome.
You might need to hit function F11.
Okay.
It's not the most intuitive
Oh,
gesture,
beautiful.
but
Intuitive enough.
yay!
See, now, isn't that beautiful? But yeah, I was very inspired by Ahmad, who's been doing a lot of really cool graphic stuff with orchids, which are a very beautiful, high maintenance flower. I've learned so much about them recently.
Try clicking on the screen.
Oh, okay. Orchids come so easy for some people. Small agony conduits paying forward, bomb and sediment, light work. Every bloom seems an angel's face looking murderously, soft claw of mouth that praises cultivar contained. No, each one facing like it greets us, sinking upward. Every vapor after was its own orchid, stupid effluvia, creator, castrator, wax veins the shooting kind. Broken ornament bulb outbred and medicated, manifold works of our predator like a gambler, every first rule followed. We think we could make a garden out of these, surround it with spears and wire and dogs, soft purple labial folding, lovely, lovely dresses. An astonishing success, this fearful dinner party. Unturned, not to possess, to touch, or we did, and we did touch. Fragrant with spit and heat, we think. I understand this science, and rebloom. Those orchids and their sunken cat faces and cloven lips. Every orchid is a she. Each splits and falls like bones collapsed under their own weight. This flower lost its mind. These gifts so unhappy as a rule. And that's it. Now look at the flowers. Oh, undefined. Undefined. Hey, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Serena and Ahmad. It was really beautiful. All right, and up to close out our open projector, let's give it up for Lee. You have your own computer?
I do have my own computer. me see. That all should work. How about,
Let's see.
see if we get something on my busted laptop. Oh, nothing. Same issue?
Probably.
Oh, it's coming.
Oh yeah.
Hey, we got a command line.
Might need to move it to the
Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second here. Which one is this? Oh no. I'm trying to get to that one. Oh, I just realized. Sorry, folks. Should not have drank before doing this. Do we get a screen? Oh no, I did it backwards. Fuck. This will do it. Nothing? Okay. And there is text on the screen right here. Let's make this one bigger. How about right there? Is that good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Hey, folks, I made a game this week. It's just maybe some of you are like me when you have something like to do. You do something that you have a deadline, and you're like, I have a deadline. Fuck it, I'm gonna do this other thing that is just completely spurious, unrelated to anything, but I just feel compelled to do. So I have all this grading due by tomorrow, and commencement is tomorrow. Nonetheless, I made a command line game that is a non-hierarchical consensus simulator. Anarchist video game. Okay, yeah. All right, so here's the help for this game. Okay, the point of this non-hierarchical consensus simulator game is to reach the end of the meeting in broad consensus of demands and approach. The exact time needed will vary each time you play. You advance towards the goal of achieving consensus by conversing whenever you get the chance, but you have to balance your health and fatigue. The worse your humor and health is, the more easily you and everyone else get cranky and the harder to come to agreement, yada, yada, yada. There's a few terms. Me personally, I remember these from Occupy, but also I'm part of a few different collectives, art collectives and other groups. Agreement, direct response, clarifying question, point of process, block, some of these kinds of words you'll see come up. This is a modification of the game originally called Lost in the Jungle, which you will, I don't know if you'll recognize this here, but it's basically a game very similar to the Oregon Trail. Okay. All right, let's just launch this. Great, rough consensus. You're one of many folks in discussion at the protest camp with bandana, lighter, zines, wipes, phone. You're out of food and water. There's a series of discussion items. I do want to say this is not based on current protest right now, most immediately, directly. This is not necessarily a pro-Palestine demonstration, but this is just kind of in general. What's that? Why not? Yeah, maybe it should be. But just kind of in general, my experience. I also wasn't sure what the currency should be, and so I just chose zines, but probably should change. Okay. Around you, the protest and police response proceeds on. Option 1, keep talking. 2, get some rest. Right, that's right, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to consensus, right? So, okay, we still have 6 zines on us. We're in good health. Everyone seems to be in general agreement so far. We're advancing ideas quickly now. Only an hour has gone by. Yep, keep talking, great. Everyone seems to be in agreement. Let's do this one more time. You proceed on making some progress in discussion. Oh shit, screaming pigs come out of nowhere to harass you. And I want to be clear what the pigs are in this case. I left the original, which literally were pigs, and I left them in this version of the game. Okay, 1, form a block with your friends and rush. 2, shout back through your megaphone. Or 3, run away. 1. Great. You hand over your zines expressing your worldview. Surprisingly, one of the capitalism defenders takes it and sits down to read.
You're in good health. You are a little bit tired. You still have 5 zines on you. Only 3 hours have elapsed as you're attempting to reach a rough consensus. Around you, the protest and police response proceeds on. Would you like to keep talking or get some rest? Keep talking. Great. The consensus seems to be to keep talking. You proceed on. You're making some progress in discussion. All of a sudden, an affiliate who prefers destabilizing discussion hears your steps and bolts. Do you shoo them away, run after them, or just move on with the meeting? There are some bugs, as you might have noticed. Move on, right. You decide against stirring the pot right now, but you do find some dumpster donuts. Would you like to eat some or leave it? I think the consensus is to eat them. There is widespread enjoyment of the donuts. Everyone recovers some strength. But soon everyone is feeling tired from the long debate so far. At least you got some free donuts. 4 hours have elapsed. We're generally in good health, although we are drained. We have 5 zines left. We are attempting to reach a rough consensus. But a vast point of contention lies ahead for discussion. Should we risk a discussion or just acknowledge it and move on for now? Risk a discussion. Who wants that? And what about an acknowledgement and moving on? It seems like we're just going to acknowledge that point for now. Thank you. Thank you. A long, tiresome debate. We're safe but no closer to our goal. We're still in good health. We found some more donuts. We ate them. There's widespread enjoyment of the donuts. We've recovered some strength. We are a little bit tired. Someone proposes a new idea. Do we listen to it, or should we put it on stack to consider later? The consensus was to put it on stack. Thank you, everyone. We're better not chance taking a temperature check at this time, but a hippie casserole has been placed out for you all to eat. Would you like to examine it carefully or pick it up? We've picked it up. You tensely give it a slurp, hoping for the best. In the end, the food is gone, though you are sweating right now. Oh shit, the screaming pigs are back out of nowhere to harass us. Should we form a block, shout back, or run away? Shout back. We're shouting. We rush with a group clad in black, trying to look imposing and anonymous. It doesn't seem to work very well. A rain of kicks and punches descends upon us. Damn. At long last, the pigs scatter, shrieking into their body cams and robodogs. The shrieking was already there before I did add the body cams and robodogs. Oh shit, there's more. We're just going to run away this time. Okay, thank you. The game probably takes more than 5 minutes to play, but I did want to point this out. Anything else I wanted to say about this so far? Maybe we'll do 2 more things and end it there. How's that sound? Is that all right? Okay. All right, so Movement Man. Movement Man is like the kind of person that's like heavily involved, goes from protest to action to like a affiliate group, you know, over and over again, but always kind of, how do I want to say? It's a certain kind of person that tends to dominate with certain movement kinds of work. I'm not explaining it well, but I did have a few beers before. So let's say Movement Man entangles your mind with pointless quibbling. It's a mind-numbing man-terruption, and it's trying to make a point. Should we block, have a direct response, or call for a point of order? Block. Yeah, we're blocking. You pull out a pre-roll and offer it up. The bro man takes a hit, wilts away with a horrible squelching sound. Let's do one last one. Okay, there's an affiliate who prefers destabilizing discussion, but here's our steps and starts to bolt away. This is probably where I have a little bit of a bug. Should we shoo them away, run after them, or just move on with the meeting? Okay, we're going to run after them, but we are too tired to give chase. We're in decent health. We're drained. Only 8 hours have elapsed. That's not bad. There's a random number generator in there. It's generally 30 to 45 hours to get consensus, just so everyone knows. Many of you involved in non-hierarchical consensus decision-making can allot to that, right? But yeah, thank you very much. My name is Lee Tussman. This is Rough Consensus.
That was great. Thank you, Lee. And let's give it up for everyone on our open projector. And for those keeping track at home, including YG2556, Fuzzball, and Barefoot Funk, you will know that it's time for our first featured presenter. I'm really excited to have the HTML review here with us this evening, as represented by editors Max Neely Cohen and Shelby Wilson. Let's give a quick round of applause for them before I say bios. Yeah, as they're making the way to the stage. Max is an amazing writer, curator, New York impresario. Shelby, a designer, programmer, creator of some really, really fun and captivating websites. Yeah, an HTML review, for those of you who haven't seen it, you can Google HTML review. Is a publication that means a lot to me as someone who's been making like poetic website work for a long time. When I first started doing it in like 2014, the only way you could publish a like poetic website was like you could just like take the text of a poem and submit it to an online journal. And I definitely had tried to be like, oh, I have a thing with maybe a little JavaScript, maybe a little CSS animation. Like, no. The little independent poetry journal does not want your CSS animation at all. So it was really meaningful to me to be included in the first issue of the HTML review. And they've gone on to include a lot of really great work of creators that I really admire and are creating a really cool space for publishing all kinds of creative and experimental websites. I really appreciate the work that they do. Let's give it up for Max and Shelby in the HTML review.
Service. Wow. Everyone give it up for Todd. Todd's been doing this for 7 years, 9.5 years. This is, at least for me, this is kind of like coming home to the parents that are the only reason you're here, because the HTML review would only exist with Todd and also with Laurel, who will be presenting later. So we're so psyched to be here. I'm Max.
I'm Shelby.
And we're going to tell you how not to run a magazine.
That's right.
So the HTML review is an attempt to create a magazine that can sort of host and publish a different type of work, literary work, than a magazine usually can.
We want your CSS animations.
Yeah, we want your CSS animations. And it's really, the way we describe it is it's a journal of literature made to exist on the web, using the web as its primary medium.
All right, so HTML, what is it? It is a communication protocol. It's a set of rules that we've all established that make up websites. It's how we've decided that websites will exist. So underlying every website is HTML. It kind of exists between like these very complicated like network hosting things for websites and then these very like polished industrialized websites. They're all fundamentally HTML. And so the name kind of plays off of that, even though they're not, all the pieces that we publish are not just HTML. People add JavaScript and CSS on top of that. But yeah, fundamentally that's what it is.
And literature is no, I mean we're really interested in publishing. We're using the widest possible definition of literature, so not just poems or short stories, but we're very down for essays, plays, rants, sort of any sort of radical reimagining of what art with language and storytelling can be.
Mm-hmm. Games and interactive pieces. And the web is an artistic medium, is what we see with all of these pieces, and like what we've seen tonight even. Shout out to Serena and Ahmed. Yeah, so artists will always find ways of using mediums that are available to them. So that includes, paint or writing or paper or anything that can be used to create art will be. And the web exists in that space too. Artists will always push the boundaries of it.
And so that's sort of the place where we've always sort of hoped to be for work. And we just published our 3rd issue and are just going to sort of take you through, thank you, the process of how we got there. So issue 1.
Issue 1.
What's really amazing is each issue is designed completely from scratch by Shelby, and it sort of changes with each one. And with this one, we didn't totally know what we were doing, but these were sort of the inspirations for Shelby's design, which
Yeah.
I'll pull up right now.
Yeah, a window is a container, and a container is a window. So a browser is both this space with edges and contained within a page, but it's also this portal that you can look through and into. And that was kind of a starting point for this design. I also got really obsessed with like window coverings, and I created these window blinds using CSS. And so I took some code from that piece and integrated it into this design of the issue, and just kept riffing off of different window coverings. And then a challenge for that I made for myself was to keep this as purely HTML as I could. So it's mostly HTML with CSS and a tiny bit of JavaScript. And that was just an interesting constraint for me to design within.
So some of all the pieces in this issue are amazing and close to our hearts, but to show a couple of them, Meili Koei made this amazing Wordle poem. This was sort of in the very early days, and sort of assembled these into this actually like brilliant poem. Another really amazing example is from a literary writer who I think a lot of people, she's always kept it a secret that she knows how to code. So this is Larissa Pham, who's an incredible essayist, memoirist, and novelist. Did this amazing little piece where actually the sort of GIF orb in the bottom corner like morphs and turns as you scroll. It's actually this really subtle, great effect. And then I'll attempt to do it justice, but if you want to hop on the mic and say anything about it, Todd, you're welcome to. But Todd contributed this amazing memorial to a really lovely, epic member of his family, pet member of his family, which is this story that you can only access by holding down 2 keyboard keys at the same time. And it only runs if more than 50% of the people visiting the website are doing that at the same time. So it's this very sort of moving, I won't give it away, but you should all go and more than 50% of you have to be pressing in order for it to work.
Yeah, and it's this really interesting way of engaging with a website physically too. You have to be in a specific position and pressing keys, and it's very it's very meditative.
So I won't give away the rest, but you should go and see it. It's incredible, the places it goes. So there's a couple things from our first issue, and that was in the spring of 2022, and we had no idea what we were doing. It started because I literally called Shelby and was like, I bought a domain. And then we got to our second issue, and Shelby had to just completely redesign the entire thing again.
Yeah, that's something that this medium affords, is that every issue can be completely different. So, if you go to a lot of other publications' websites, you expect to see a certain style or a certain format, but for our index page, we always do a different one. So this issue, I took like a little snippet of code, or I looked at the different pieces and used it to make these objects that sit in these little like niches.
Yeah.
Never remember how to say that word. And it plays with dimensionality too, so it has this like flatness to it, and then these kind of faux 3D shadow effects. But again, it was a creative challenge for me to keep it as much CSS as possible and very minimal JavaScript.
The other thing that's really lovely about this design and all the designs is if you go into the console, the code is always really meant to be looked at in red.
Mm-hmm.
It's all really sort of like handmade and legible.
Mm-hmm. And shared even.
Yeah.
Remixed.
All the pieces are really good, but we'll just show you a couple. This is a really interesting. Oh, this browser's not going to run it. Never mind. There's one really amazing piece is this is Discrepancies by Matthew Baker, which is a short story where basically it's shifting all the time, and it's sort of its meaning is changing and morphing, and it's like a full-on short story, and he didn't really know. I think he was looking for the right place to publish it, and we were kind of it, I think, for something this crazy.
And something we do too with contributors is we edit both content and code. So if a contributor has like an idea that they want to work on, or they need some someone to bounce ideas back and forth with, we're there for that. So these pieces evolve throughout the editorial process in both content and code.
Here's Alicia Guo's piece, which was a bunch of 6 different ways of finding a poem, a sort of riff on found poetry. And so they all involve sort of moving the mouse around and finding the poem. But they get, I would say, like increasingly different. Like this one, you have to hover while digging in order to find the poem. Where is it? Here you can pick up words and then they follow you around. And then here's a really interesting, this is our friend Esther Bouquet.
Yeah, and this is taking this traditional web art, traditional ASCII art, and turning it into a concrete poem. So as you interact with the different characters, they'll change and they'll reveal the poem underneath. And you can kind of drive where that poem will appear. You can read it slowly, you can read it out of order, you can be very chaotic about it.
Then an example of a sort of long form piece, which is really amazing, is this, which I don't know if you can see with the shadow, but Grid World by Alex Miller, which is this amazing essay about the author's personal experience with grids growing up and what they've meant to him.
Yeah, a memoir, but also this exploration of using this built-in capability of the web page, the scrolling aspect of it, but then he's also created this very sophisticated graphics. His hand-rolled these graphics that are rendered on the screen, but it's this really beautiful reflection of grids and the world.
And he coded these from scratch, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's some of what issue 2 was like.
Oh, I should say too, if we go back.
Oh, yeah.
This was a fun detail from this issue too, is that every contributor, all those little objects are in their own style sheet, so they have these named files if you look at the
Yeah.
code.
Okay, issue 3.
Yes, our latest issue.
Do you want to talk about the design a little bit?
Yeah. So we've stumbled upon this paper that was floating around. Every author is first author. By Eric and Martin Domain, who also have amazing websites themselves. Lots of interesting, really creative uses of the web. But they wrote this like somewhat satirical paper about authorship in academic papers and created this beautiful radial design that really inspired our issue.
Sort of how to not have a hierarchy for all the nerds, I guess.
Yes.
And so Shelby came up with this.
It's an infinite scroll, but it's not like a doom scroll. It's like a fun infinite scroll. And Max just pointed out Black Emperor to me, which has a similar radial design, so it's amazing.
And yeah, some pieces like this that are really amazing. Morikana Sebentiri, this is this sort of like poetry editor that has wandering single-celled organisms that eat and poop the words you write and reconstitute them. They'll actually just start reading the instructions if you let it run, but which is kind of terrifying, but you can drop food for them. They've started. There they go. But it's this really amazing kind of, I would almost call it like a poetic space that invites you to write a poem instead of sort of presenting a poem. But even with it running with the instructions is amazing. It actually is like a really deep system. It has a whole like life cycle. If you leave it running, emergent stuff starts to happen. This is Rory Green's piece, Crush Choreography, which has a musical element too, but it's a branching poem about having a crush on someone. If you opened my meme, if I liked your meme. If I told you about my TBR pile, if you told me about your TBR pile, if I recognized your desire, if you asked me about my plans. What else should we show? That one? Okay.
Oh yeah, so this is Sarah Chefka's piece. And in this, she curated these snippets from Missed Connections, the Craigslist Missed Connections section. So you see all these snippets of text from this part of the internet floating around, and then you can create these poems from those snippets.
I don't think I had time to react. You do all the right things in all the right ways, just like everyone expects. I would love to make you feel. And what's really cool about these missed connections is if you don't email the poem to yourself, they're lost forever. So it generates them, and if you don't catch it or screenshot it, that's it. It's gone, it's missed. So it's this really lovely piece that really takes advantage of the ways in which the web can be a limited or fragile medium. Should we try to get it to run? Oh wait, I don't want to view the source. This piece is one that came to us all the way from Vietnam. Bao An emailed us and had just sort of seen us online, and that's been an amazing part of this process, is how sort of like global submissions have been. And if you drag the console over far enough, you get this TV remote. And then
And then it's sort of a game.
You
It's
so
this living part of the console.
and you can control and make graphics happen, and it's just wild. I don't know if you could see at the bottom, but that started going off. You can get the CSS to start firing. Yeah, it's amazing. Any others you want to show from that? One last one I'll show real quick. This is Hannah Jenkins' Forest Void, which you sort of reveal the poem one letter at a time unless you hit this sort of minesweeper mechanic. And eventually the poem disappears and recedes.
And these little pixelated images are screenshots from Minecraft that the artist took from playing Minecraft.
And it's also just even in text, like this is like a really gorgeous poem that, you know, when I was an editor at a literary magazine, I would have been like thrilled to publish, but in this form, it just like comes alive in this kind of amazing way. So that's a little bit of what we do.
I was gonna say too, part of what makes the HTML review special is that it's decentralized. Some of our contributors host their own pieces, and we'll continue to iterate on them or change them, evolve. And then we host some too. So it's very unusual, I think, in the publishing world for that to be a possibility.
We like the web. The whole point is to link to things. And I think that's, we're trying to kind of take advantage of what the web can be and how it can publish, which traditional publishers haven't always. Not just in like fancy interactive animated ways, but just in more simple ways, in that like, yeah, people can own their own work and it can continue evolving, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. So in closing, please also do this, make a website, because we have no idea what we're doing, and we'd like to not be alone while we're doing it. And submit to us. We love to publish you. And yeah, we have a whole friends section on our website, because we really, like, anyone who does this, we feel like it's such a small sort of community, and we're so grateful towards. So this is an invitation, like, please join it and become a part of it. And this is me just speaking, I guess. Like, as fun as it is to be an artist or creator, it's also really fun to be an editor and a curator. And I would encourage you, if you've never tried that, to try it.
Agreed.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, let's give it up one more time for Max and Shelby. And when is your next submission acceptance period?
We publish the first day of spring every year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're open for submissions November through December. But you can also just, if you were here.
November to December, or today if you were here. All right, everybody. We are now at the famous mid-show word hack break. It's 13 minutes long, exactly. You all kind of internally know exactly how long that is, so I'm not gonna tell anyone. I'm just gonna suddenly start. Just kidding. Take 13. Go get a drink. Tip Jason. Jason's great. And we're going to be back in the second half with Daniel Temkin and Laurel Schwulst. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't go far. See you then. Out of my mouth. Everyone is ready for the second half to begin, but we need to galvanize our attention to the front of the room and finish our cool conversations because they can continue after the show. Okay, wow, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the second half of Word Hack. It's been so great that we all made it here together. What a great break. Let's give it up for the Word Hack break. Presentations are great, but so is just being at Word Hack without anything going on where you can just kind of talk to the person next to you. I'm really slipping into a Wizard People Deal Reader right there. I gotta be careful. Really excited to bring back our next presenter, his last presentation who's presented at Word Hack twice before, I think. Last presentation here was 4 years ago. Excited to have him here at Wonderville for the first time. Daniel Temkin, one of my favorite artists, really outstanding, wide-ranging practice. I have a giant scroll full of domain names next to my bed, which is from Daniel. Some really exciting work on dithers and trees, and perhaps the work that first brought him to Word Hack, experimental esoteric programming languages, including folders, a programming language coded entirely out of nested folders. Many other really interesting ones as well. Really excited to have Daniel back with us. Give it up for Daniel Temkin.
Thanks, everyone. I'm hoping that this is going to come up.
Fingers crossed for first dongle.
Okay. Let's just give it a minute.
While we're waiting, shout out to our online Twitch viewers in the scales and JRoda1993 who wants to let us know that there are cheap viewers on streamboo.com, and there's a nice little link you can. So JRoda, thank you for tuning in.
All right. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to be presenting one or possibly two, or depending how well I use my time up here, maybe even three programming languages. So I create programming languages that fall into the esoteric category, which means that they're not primarily used for production software. I wrote a blog for 10 years called Esoteric Codes, where I covered a lot of these languages. And one of the things that I noticed that happens a lot for SLangers is that they have the languages that they've made, and then they have a whole list of concepts of languages that they haven't made yet, but that sometime in the future they're going to actually make, but that are so interesting in the concept that it doesn't really need to actually be manifested as a full language. And so I became really interested in sort of just the concept level of SLangs for a while. I interviewed one of the first of the SLangers, Chris Pressey, who created the language bfunge in 1993, which was a language where code flows left and right, and then it can kind of turn to flow up, and it can turn to the left, and so on. And bfunge was based on, it was inspired by Brainfuck, which also came out that year, 1993, also for the Amiga. And basically, Chris looked at Brainfuck, which was a programming language where every command is one letter, and he said, well, once everything's one letter, you don't have to go left to right anymore. You can kind of change direction anywhere that you want. But the original concept for him was, what if you had BASIC, and instead of having line numbers, you drew an arrow to the line that you wanted to go to? But then later, the concept really turned into the language that's the most difficult to write a compiler for. But neither of those things are really sort of the concept that people really know about bfunge, which is, of course, the fact that it flows in all these different directions. So in 2020, I started to make just SLang concepts as just kind of a little series for Instagram of languages that maybe one day I would make, and maybe it's just sort of like, oh, that's sort of an interesting idea to think about, but I don't have any reason to actually carry it out. So this is one that I liked in particular. It was sort of this idea of this like stream of consciousness of code. This one I'm actually making. It's actually much more usable than you would think. And then later in the year, I made this piece, which was just sort of this one line of code. Father Zeus, defender of cities, defender of homes, defender of the traveler and of those far from home, please create a loop counting from 99 to 1 called Beer Loop. So this became the programming language Olympus. Olympus, if I had to boil it down to the concept, the original concept was computation happens through the will of the gods, which really kind of describes every programming language. But then my alternate concept for it was, what if we had a language that accepted that the machine is never really under our control, which is really sort of a different way of saying the same thing. Now, one thing about Olympus is that it's written in this kind of pseudo-natural language, right? And of course, this has been the dream of programmers from really the beginning of programming. This is a quote from Mark Marino from Critical Code Studies, which is an excellent book. That writing programs in a natural language, whether spoken or written, has been a dream of programmers, perhaps since the advent of the digital state machine. I would say that it's more a dream of managers who want business people to be able to write code without having to rely on programmers. And sort of the first attempt at this was Flowmatic, which doesn't really read as natural language to us now, but was like a really big jump forward towards from what code looked like before, which was something that could only really be understood by programmers. The idea that this is something that would be accessible to, this was used mostly by the military, something that would be understood by a colonel or an admiral. But nowadays, of course, when we think about natural language and code, we think about like Copilot and these tools that are supposed to create the code based on these sort of vague ideas that we write. But the other place where natural language that we're dealing with technology a lot, of course, is with virtual assistants. And there's this thing called the ELIZA effect, which is when you sort of briefly forget that what you're speaking to is an AI system, and we start to think of the virtual assistant, this kind of subservient, usually female-voiced system as being sentient in some way. And we kind of forget that we are, we start to think of ourselves as sort of assholes for talking the way that we do to these virtual assistants. So the bossy tone that we take with these start to feel very mean. And of course, this generates a whole round of think pieces every few years. But the thing is that, like, when we're writing something that's going to be understood by Alexa or the C compiler, we don't really, we expect it to do what we're telling it to do, right? But we don't have that expectation when we speak to the gods. So if we're Olympus is really about flipping this power dynamic. I mean, we bother the gods with our petty requests, and how could our requests not seem petty to them? But now we speak to them with adoration and respect, and this is really built into the language itself. Zeus is not accountable to us. The illusion that we command the gods or the machine is gone. If Zeus decides to ignore us, that's just sort of what he does. So I know it's a little hard to read this line of code. It's going across the walls. Here's another view that's also not very readable of the same thing. I'll read that loud. But this is it broken down into pieces. So the first part is, first of all, a line of code is not a command in Olympus. It's an invocation, a petition for help. And an invocation has several pieces. The first part is the adoration and supplication. So the adoration is, we say Lord Zeus, and then we have to give him the appropriate epithets, which are part of that adoration. So for this line of code, we call him Master of Storms, Father of the Gods, Defender of Cities, Defender of Homes, Defender of the Travelers and of those far from home. So those are the epithets. And there's the supplication, I beg you to. And then there's the actual commands, right? So, this one is for Zeus. Zeus is a strategist, so he's really good for anything kind of structural about the program. But if we wanted to deal with the looping, we would speak to Ariadne. So for Ariadne, we'd have to say, instead of Master of Storms, we would say Mistress of the Serpents, or perhaps Goddess who turns and turns and turns again until the way is clear. Then the last part of the line of code is the actual request. So we're asking him to create a function called print beer inside loop for parameter n. And then we have like a whole bunch of things that we want this function to do. We want it to print n and print beer string and print on the wall and print n again and then print beer string again and then the whole rest of the string. So it reads as this kind of micromanaging, right? To do the specific thing and then that specific thing. It sounds very annoying. You don't think that, you think that Zeus would kind of lose his patience. So another thing that's built into the grammar of this language is that each god has a certain amount of adoration they're expecting, but then also you have to do more if you're asking them for a lot. And you can't ask them for too many things in a row. So if I ask Zeus for something, the next time I'm going to ask Athena, who can basically do all the same stuff that Zeus can do. And then later, I might go back to Zeus. And I have to use different epithets each time. And so that's actually that's built into the grammar. This is all, has anybody worked with a PEG grammar before? Anyway, there's this great tool called PEG.js. It makes this really easy to be able to sort of define these things, especially like a really wordy programming language like this. But yeah, so I have it gets the correct epithets, it has a praise factor that's different for each of the gods, and so on. If we want to declare a variable, that's through Mnemosyne. And apologies if I'm mispronouncing anything, because most of what I know about Greek mythology is from Xena Warrior Princess. Oh, shit. Oh, okay, it's coming back, it's coming back. All right. I'm trying not to like touch the table too much. So yeah, Mnemosyne is the mistress of memory. And there's a lot of ands in this code. And the good thing about and, so the thing is that like normally in code, if you have something that's very complicated to express, you have to break it down, you might have parentheses. And is sort of like a more ambiguous version of parentheses. If your line of code is too long, it's going to become kind of structurally ambiguous in such a way that it becomes sort of unreadable, and it stops you from trying to ask the gods for too much. Ariadne for branching. This is for if statements, case statements, calling of functions, and so on. Hermes, the bringer of dreams, can also call functions. In this case, we're asking Ariadne to create something called a check, which is just a truth condition that we're going to build an if statement out of. And that's the other thing, is that we describe the whole program out of order, so that we do it in the order of which gods are sort of the most appropriate. And again, if you piss off one of the gods too much, they might just ignore all the rest of your requests for the entire program. When we want to end a block of code, we call Hades, who runs the garbage collector. Hades, thy realm an earthly tomb, remote from mortals in their flashy busts. Thy throne is fixed in the dismal plains. I implore you to collect all variables that remain, stranded in the functions of Chion or in the main sequence, to live on in your netherworld. Artemis and Demeter, who rule over the cycles of nature, are the masters of loop instructions and repetition. Hermes, bringer of dreams, is responsible for random numbers. And also, as the messenger of the gods, he deals with input and output. So some people might ask, like, if this is based on Greek mythology and sort of the aesthetics of ancient Greece, why don't we go with something that deals with the sort of classical beauty that people associate with that, the whole thing of Platonic solids and the golden ratio that sort of reached their peak with the design of the Yahoo logo. Why wouldn't we have something that's like this, all these sort of perfect ratios, something like a Lisp language? With, you can't really see it super well, but all these parentheses down here that people associate more with that sort of classical design. But the thing is that this is not Plato's view of the gods. Olympus is not a Platonic language. It belongs to the petty, tempestuous Homeric gods. So it has to bring in that chaos. And the other thing is that there's already too much pretend elegance in language design. There's already too much code that pretends that it has the clarity of logic, when we, as non-logical beings, are writing the code and it's always full of bugs and it never sort of reaches that peak. So to me, this approach is more realistic in terms of how we actually deal with technology. We open and close a program with the same way each time. We start with, "Come, happy, deathless gods, hearken to my prayer." And then at the very end, "O great gods with all the splendor of Olympus." And this is where we actually name the program. So for people who haven't figured it out, we are creating here the 99 Bottles of Beer on the Wall program. So that is Olympus. I have a few minutes, so I'm going to talk about one other language that also deals with natural language in some ways. It's called Valence. And Valence asks a different question. Valence asks, what if we let structural ambiguity into programming? Something that's usually sort of avoided because it's usually seen as a bad thing, but it's very sort of natural to the way that we express ourselves in natural language. So what I mean by this is, what if we allowed one line of code to have multiple interpretations? What might this look like, and what would we do with it? So the first thing that might come to mind are sort of confusing lines of code like this one, where it's not very clear what you're going to get from this. But this isn't true syntactic ambiguity. Even if the language doesn't clearly say what A is going to end up being, the particular compiler will have only one answer to this. What I'm looking for is something more like what happens in natural language when we say, Bo saw the group with a telescope, and we don't know for sure whether it's Bo who has a telescope or the group that has the telescope. There's two different interpretations. So I decided to make a programming language where both are true at the same time. So to do this, of course, I had to sort of scratch our whole alphabet and start over. And I decided to borrow from ancient Greece again, and I used a whole bunch of different symbols for measurements and currencies. I don't, ooh, shit. All right, we'll just give it a minute. But I picked 8 symbols that come from ancient Greece, and I've decided not to actually use their original meanings at all, but give them new ones. And each one of these can be used in a couple of different ways. So there's the idea of using an operator as a prefix, like plus A, we're applying plus to A, or infix, where it goes between two things, A plus B. And then I decided to invent second fix, which is where it's the second one, and anything comes after it or before it, it's applied to as well. And the thing is that in Valence, all 3 of these things are active, unless you specify which to use with square brackets. So this is a little hard to read from here, but basically every single symbol in this, all 8 of these are homonyms several times over. Each one is a digit. They're octal digits because I ended up with 8 letters. If I'd ended up with 11, which is what I started with, it would have been in base 11, but I ended up with 8, so it's in base 8. So each one is a digit, each one is a variable, and then they all have other uses as well. So the first one means integer, it means not, it means add, if you have several things to apply to. It's also addition assignment operator. The third one means divide, it means a ratio, it means the end of a block, it's the and operator. It's a calculated go-to, which means it goes to a label, but you can calculate, you calculate to a number, and then it goes to the label that corresponds to that digit. So here is sort of how, behind me is, so these 3 symbols, there's 2 different ways that they'll end up being understood. One of them is if one of the variables is greater than 0, and the other one is let a different variable equal something else. Here is some more complicated examples, and here is a much longer string where we have a loop. So it means for this symbol from 1 to 100, it also means for this other symbol to equal itself minus this octal, very long octal number, and also it means to subtract by itself something else. And the thing that happens when there's 2 different interpretations is that the program actually splits in half. Both versions continue to run until it reaches something that's syntactically not correct, and then it just ends. So that is Valence. And here is my info. Thank you very much.
That was amazing. Let's give it up one more time for Daniel Temkin. And one more time for Lord Zeus for creating the function print beer loop. All right, and we're at our final presenter. Really excited to be joined by Laurel Schwulst, who's a really amazing artist, website creator, designer, writer. Someone who's been big inspiration for me in the class I presented last time at WordHack, my HTT Poetics class, and I know also very inspiring to the HTML review and many other folks making small handmade websites and try and make the internet be a less horrible place to be. Really excited to have Laurel with us. Let's give Laurel a warm welcome. Which of these mics would you like?
I mean, that one looks good. I don't know.
All right.
Okay, I'll try this one. Hello. Oh, hey. Yeah, so thanks for joining me, and thanks for inviting me, Todd. And yeah, great to be here. It's Thursday, May 16th, 2024. My name is Laurel, and if you want, my website's laurel.world. And I'm calling this talk UBA for reasons I'll explain later. Yeah, so I wanted to start. So this past weekend, I visited my parents in Florida, and my dad. They recently retired, and so my dad's been like golfing a lot, and my mom's been gardening a lot, and my mom advised, like while showing me her garden, start small, think big. And so in this talk I've prepared, I'm going to show something simple, very concrete, and in progress, but also like planting the seeds for something much larger. So I wanted to officially start by showing you my phone's home screen. And you might notice that I have a contacts widget up at top. I also have a Google Calendar widget reminding me that WordHack is today. And the contacts widget up top has, I guess, like 4 people who are special to me. But just so you know, I was kind of just experimenting with this week. Usually my home screen looks more something like this. I, for whatever reason, like putting one person in the top left, almost like as a shrine to them. But I like to change this person out every once in a while, so, you know. And one thing I thought was quite interesting is that, for whatever reason, the contacts widget tells you when a person has do not disturb mode on, like my friend Alex here, or when they're driving, there's like a little car icon. But you might be noticing, like, why are all my friends like radial gradients? And this is because this is I guess a practice I've been doing for the past few years that I call energy spheres, where I basically go into Figma or any kind of graphics editing and essentially create a radial gradient portrait of my friend and just basically put it as their avatar. But I was wondering, like, oh, it would be kind of interesting if instead of the moon icon when Alex is in do not disturb mode, if maybe there was like a glowing pink sphere that meant, that meant something. And so I've been thinking about these energy spheres as ambient statuses. So you can tell a lot from an energy sphere. Maybe there's an app that allows you to pick your energy sphere, you get to pick your own colors and things, but depending on different status variables, it gradually changes. And then you can kind of keep an eye on your friends in different ways. So for example, maybe my friend June is glowing pink, and so that means she must be driving. May has been blue for 5 days. I should really reach out to them. Or August is driving and blue. No. I was playing with just kind of having, many shrines to my friends on one screen. There's something almost a little creepy about this, but also, if I really care about these people, it's nice to be reminded of them, and kind of ambiently keep track of their status, or just consider these kind of fixed shrines. Or I thought it would be really nice, like this is kind of a screen that's an homage to my friend Elliot, who's based in Rotterdam, so I can see his weather, see a random picture of us, and be reminded of his energy sphere or his current status. So yeah, what's really beautiful is these energy spheres look really good in many contexts on the phone, just because avatars are already circular. And I want to call out my friend Elliot Cost, who has the domain elliot.computer, because Elliot actually did this first, and I asked him permission to kind of go along with it. If you go to sites.elliot.computer/contacts, you'll see he just made these radial gradients in CSS. And if you inspect, you can see the class names are his friends' names. And maybe you can guess which energy sphere I am in the friends list. And so when I call, my green energy sphere glows in a really beautiful way. And so today I made an energy sphere in preparation for this talk for my friend Ruben, who's in the crowd. And he said, on my way home, can't wait to see it in color. I think that's because Ruben has his phone in black and white all the time. But he said, predominance of green and blue feels very ocean plus frog under a lemon cheese rind. An honor to become a sphere. Thank you. And so that's hopefully what happens when it's done right. Obviously, these spheres, I kind of like making a portrait is a reflective act. You don't always get it right the first time, but you can edit it over time, kind of thing. So Ruben, let me know if I should tweak anything. So that I've been thinking about how should this energy sphere thing live if it were like an app. And so idea 2 is energy spheres as portraits. Maybe someone says, wow, I'm honored to receive this sphere. It's so like me. Maybe this is an app that allows you to create spheres and send them to friends. This app could exist within the iMessage send a message interface, maybe similar to Memoji, perhaps. And so when I'm actually making these spheres, this is me in Figma, kind of going off. I like to listen to music. To be honest, it's kind of like a psychedelic experience to create a sphere. It's nice to be thinking of someone while you're creating this thing or thinking of something very specific. But I guess I was thinking, yeah, these are great to represent people, but to be honest, they could kind of represent anything. You can just attach a word or a meaning to them, and then you're kind of essentially making meaning through something as simple as a radial gradient. So maybe idea 3 is, let's just create an app that allows you to make radial gradients on your phone. Energy spheres can be for so many things, so let's make a simple tool. So this is an app that allows you to create energy spheres and name them. Each one exports to your camera roll. And I actually made a mock-up of this with my friend Peter. And so like, very simple. You just drag the colors and you can add other colors, and it encourages you to name that energy sphere. And so here we're doing the energy sphere for the holiday Juneteenth. It's not a person, it's a holiday, maybe kind of a way to make that day more special or more memorable. And so far with this project, I think last year I was asked to make an hour-long video to accompany a music mix. So I decided to use energy spheres for them. And you're seeing here, I created seven bespoke energy spheres that corresponded to the 7 days of the week and the 7 intentions I wanted to have on each day. Just to say that these spheres, they don't have to be just for people, but there is something kind of nice about linking them to people, especially because the, avatars are circular. And so maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but like I find these really small decisions, I mean, they seem small, like deciding which way to go with an app called Energy Spheres. So if you have any ideas, I really welcome them. I've been kind of playing with this idea for a couple years and I haven't really landed on anything. In the meantime, I just like making energy spheres for my friends. I'm also really interested in widgets, and I feel like it's a really untapped area in iOS especially. I guess, the ability to make your own UI, especially UI that like reminds you of people who are important to you, seems really like a missed opportunity, I think. But anyway, I wanted to go back to my home screen to show you a row of apps on my phone. So last summer, I was working on a really, really big idea called PBS of the internet, which essentially is about, I think the internet needs more PBS energy, PBS standing for Public Broadcasting System. Just the idea that there should be maybe like publicly funded kind of technology or technology and also like kind of a media ecosystem that allows for like goodness and humanity. And so a friend was looking at my home screen and they said, "Oh, looks like that's your PBS of the internet row." I was like, "Oh." And the first app you see there is called Flight Simulator, and maybe some of you know that this is an app I launched with my friend who goes under Soft, Dan, a few years ago, and essentially it allows you to take make-believe flights from your phone. You have to be in airplane mode to go on a flight for the entire duration of the flight. And if you go out of airplane mode, you'll get a push notification that says the plane is going to turn around if you don't put it back in airplane mode. And to encourage you to actually do this, you are rewarded with special bespoke pins each time you land at an airport. So there are 495 pins, which were algorithmic artwork we commissioned by the artist Arthi Akapeti. But anyway, so like I said, I recently took this trip to Florida to visit my parents, and in the air, they had this video called ASMR in the Clouds, which is an hour-long video of a make-believe flight, and the window change, and sometimes you were doing like e-reading, flying over crops. But yeah, I guess like when I was flying on the airplane, I guess I was really reflecting, to be honest, that the airplane is one of the only places I feel like truly at peace, ideally I'm like with someone I love, like a friend or companion who's like pleasantly doing their own thing or sleeping or something. I'm also like really good alone, but I guess just being in this like kind of contained like place where there's hopefully no internet, I just feel like I can finally like go back through all the things I've been doing and kind of like have time to reflect. I feel like as artists, we're all really sensitive, and I just feel like I can feel the internet like coursing through my bloodstream when I'm connected. And so one thing I did was I went in through my camera roll and I edited it. I went through and like made huge deletions because it just feels really good to look at my camera roll and like feel like it's like representative of what I've been up to. And one kind of weird collection I've been doing is whenever I'm on a plane and I see someone editing their camera roll, I like to take take a video. And I don't mean to be like voyeuristic, but I genuinely think it's like really beautiful that people have time to do this kind of thing and like, yeah, actually like reflect on which photo is better, you know. Yeah, because you can kind of really understand what you've been doing. But anyway, after realizing that I had what I call PBS of the internet row on your phone, those 4 apps. Oh yeah, and they were Flight Simulator, Arena, Wikipedia, and the virtual I Ching app. And all of these apps make me feel like generally peaceful or reflective. And so I just created an Arena channel and asked people to take a screenshot of their 4 apps. I didn't really say much about what PBS of the internet meant. And so far, over 40 people have contributed. Oh yeah, and you can't really see the names, but I'm just going to go through these. This is Chia Amisola, Shay Fitzpatrick, Nameless Nobody. This is a name I can't read in Arabic. Okay. Oh, sorry. Spencer Chang, Mind S, XV Barak, Danielle Pianetti, Christopher Tijalv, Jonathan Split, Yatu Espinoza, Toby Shorin, Lauren Gallagher, Cab Broskowski, Leslie Liu, Danielle Loriola, Sean McSherry, Malte Mueller. And you'll notice some people, these are kind of bespoke apps or kind of, I guess, shortcuts to websites that they've made. Stephanie Burbeck, Grace, Brendan Schlegel, Taichi Wee, Austin Wade Smith, Simran Thind, Arte Shinde, Kondinya, Roberto Greco, Humdrum, Fee, Gary Martin, Flat Desk, Isabella Hyde, Flavian, AJ, Hannah Susanna, Cynthia, Brian Scholas, Sheila Ann Blair, Kirtana, Jinki K. Liu. I think this is the last one. So I went through and I, made very, very quick, like what were the top apps. Obviously, like this was done on Arena, so lots of people picked Arena. But, it goes down from there. And I don't really have like a big, study on this yet. I'm still kind of analyzing the results, but please contribute to this Arena channel if you have 4 apps that feel very PBS energy. If you go to laurel.world, there's a list of links that are just for this talk that are at the top of my website just for tonight. So there's a link there. But one thing I thought was very interesting is that this person who actually just uploaded today, Kay, said Kay's basic PBS of the internet. And they put this face that seems to be like I don't know what kind of face that is, but it, it doesn't exactly seem like happy. And I guess I just want to go back, like, what is the word basic? Forming an essential foundation or starting point, fundamental. And I was talking with my friend Elle, who said we need to like reclaim the word basic as actually like a really wonderful thing. It doesn't have to be like, you know, just vanilla or like, but it's like a foundation. And so I've been thinking about how the current internet, like this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is very good at aesthetic and cognitive functions, but maybe very bad at the foundation of like what humans need. You know, self-esteem, belonging and love, safety, psychological well-being. And so this is kind of what I'm talking about when I talk about like a PBS of the internet. It's not just about like giving people vanilla apps or websites that are like, you know, just serve the basic function. You know, there's kind of like warmth and humanity that allows for these things. I'm also working on a journaling app and methodology right now with my friend Peter called Ping Practice. We're calling it a camera roll for your thoughts. Just the idea that you could journal whenever, we're calling it a ping, like a ping from the universe, a kind of intuitive thought that feels resonant. So you could note it down. And then you can go through your past pings and kind of make sense of them. And I made this very basic graph to kind of talk about this methodology. First, you're like, oh, I sense something here, like, oh, I'm getting like a ping right now, you know, like a really good idea, or there's just some energy. Then you pause and you are like, what is this I'm feeling or thinking? Let's like name it, like let's write it down. And then after time passes, you ask, what emergent patterns are here, and like, what can I learn from this? So you like look at all the pings you've created and start to figure things out. And then eventually, hopefully, you like learn some things from your many past selves, and you try to create what we call memory devices. But this is a bit advanced, and we haven't really figured this out. But I guess in this graph, I really feel like most apps and most apps on your phone are all about capture. Like a phone, it's like always pointing out. You know, like everything is about like seeing the world, capturing it, notating it down. But there's really not that many apps, and even the camera roll, like when I was on the airplane, it's like very primitive to be able to like organize things into folders or collections or like understand any patterns. And I feel like there just needs to be much more attention paid to like revisiting and reflecting in technology in general. And yeah, I hope this isn't too heavy because I feel like this is a very fun venue. But on the way from mythology to logistics, thought has lost the element of self-reflection, and today machinery disables men even as it nurtures them. And this is a quote from 1944. And I just find this, like, it's like pretty crazy. This is before the internet, and they're feeling this already about technology. And I feel like, yeah, we really need to bring an element of self-reflection back into our tools and ecosystem. And so you're probably wondering what UBA stands for. Right now, maybe Universal Basic Apps. And I kind of view it as both like a curatorial project, but also like eventually it could become like some kind of taking from HTML review, like a kind of curatorial project where I like help bring apps into the world, and maybe energy spheres could be one, but yeah, and I guess just rethinking what the word basic means as a kind of foundation for good humans. Anyway, thank you very much.
Let's give it up one more time for Laurel Schwulst. Really lovely presentation. And let's give it up one more time for Daniel Temkin in the HTML review. And for the open projector presenters. Oh, wow, yeah. Wow, everybody, okay. The show's over now. You can stop clapping because there's no other presentations to clap for. No, this is what, stop it. I hate it when you do that. Don't. But yeah, this has been Wordak. I hope you had a good time. It's a really cool room of people. I hope you'll talk to each other and have fun for the rest of the night. Shout out again to Rhodey in the booth, Jason at the bar, and Chantal at the door. Wonderville is great. Thank you to Mark and Stephanie as well for hosting us. We're here the third Thursday of every month. Again, really easy to set a little like 7 clicks on your Google Calendar. Just kind of can just always have every single one ready. We'll be back here the third Thursday of next month, which is, it's in June, I can tell you that much, for sure. It's like probably in the teens, probably a number bigger than 7. Here we go. That's going to be June 20th is when we'll be back here for our next show, and I hope you'll come join us. I've been Todd Anderson. It's been really my pleasure to host you this evening. I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.